welcome to the reading of the Spirits book. This is chapter number 2, part 2, Spirit and Matter. Question number 21. Is matter eternal like God, or was it created at some specific time in the past? The answer is only God knows. Nevertheless, there's something you should realize by using your reason. God, the very personification of love and charity, has never been inactive. No matter how long ago you might imagine the onset of the divine action to have been, could you possibly conceive of God as ever having been idle for even 1 second? And it's interesting that Kardec is trying to put God within the scope of time, and we know time is something limited and God is unlimited, so it's very difficult. Time is something that we know as our seconds, and our days is about the earth rotation. It's about our planet and our dimension, and how can we imagine the day that God started his creation, or can we even imagine that God for a second was idle? That's the reflection point that they give us. Question number 22. Matter is generally defined as that which has extension, that which can impress our senses, that which is impenetrable. Are these definitions correct? So now he's getting into matter. The answer is, from your point of view, they are correct, because you can only talk about matters that are familiar to you. Matter, however, also exists in states that are unfamiliar. For example, it may be so ethereal and subtle that your senses cannot detect it. It is matter nonetheless, even though you do not perceive it as such. So is again, he goes into, we get back into what we can perceive. Matter is something we can touch and feel and notice. But of course, if our senses are limited, our perception of matter is limited to those senses. And here he's saying there could be other forms of matter that just because you cannot perceive is still matter. And Kardec goes on in the same question. He asks a follow-up question to say, then how do we define matter? And the answer is, matter is the tie that enchains spirit. It is the instrument that the spirit uses and upon which it simultaneously exerts its actions. A note from Kardec. From this viewpoint, one could say that matter is the agent or intermediary through and upon which spirits acts. A much broader definition than what we know, but here it gives the dimension of matter as a vehicle. It is that through which spirit manifests. Question number 23. Follow-up is, what is spirit? It's a very short answer. The intelligent principle of the universe. We're going to see later today that sometimes we call spirit, ghost, souls, something that is somebody who has passed. And Kardec is very precise on his definitions. And here, spirit is the principle, the intelligent principle. And he's going to get into that intermediary or the definition of soul. We just read the definition of spirit, and something that we just want to bring up too is the definition of soul, just because it's relevant to what we're reading right now. In the introduction of this book, which we did not read here, Kardec brings up the definition of soul, and he says is the immaterial and individual being that dwells and survives the body. It's different. We just read about the spirit being the principle. The soul would be the incarnated spirit, right? So is what is the manifestation of that spirit. So he just takes a minute to give the definition so we can better understand. Now, he also introduces another form, which he calls the perispirit, which is the body of the spirit, and is a semi-material form that allows the spirit to connect to the body. So it's got to be something in the middle, otherwise something completely spiritual and something completely material would not connect. and he gives that word to call it spirit. Question number 24. Is spirit synonymous with intelligence? The answer is intelligence is one of the essential attributes of spirit, but both merge into a common principle. Thus, for you, they are one and the same thing. It sounds like we can't yet understand spirit, so he says it's an intelligence principle. This principle probably has more to it, but he says for you right now, it makes sense to link them together. Question number 25. Is spirit independent of matter? Or is it only a property of matter, as colors are properties of light and as sound is a property of air? The answer. They are distinct from each other, but the union of spirit and matter is necessary to enable matter to act intelligently. So here he's trying to connect. He asked what was matter. He asked, is the vehicle. He asked what spirit is, the intelligent principle. And he asks, is this matter the property of the spirit? He said, no, they are distinct things. But it is the spirit that allows the matter to manifest. Right? So matter, this body here is communicating, is the vehicle of the spirit. When the spirit no longer is here, the body will decompose. It will no longer act. And he has a follow-up question to this. Is this union equally necessary for the manifestation of spirit? The answer is, for you it is necessary, because you are not built to perceive spirit apart from matter. Your senses are not formed to do so. And in this section, we understand spirit as intelligence principle rather than entities designated by name. So the question was, do we need the union of body and spirit for us to understand spirit? And the answer, yes, we do, because that's all we can perceive, right? The question number 26. Can we conceive of spirit apart from matter and matter apart from spirit? And the answer is absolutely, through thought, as we're just doing through this logic and understanding the definitions. Question number 27. So are there two general elements in the universe, matter and spirit? The answer is yes. And over everything is God, the creator, the author of all. These three elements comprise the principle of all that exists. They are the universal trinity. However, to the element of matter must be added the universal fluid, which plays an intermediary role between spirit and matter per se, since matter is too dense for spirit to act upon it directly. Although from a certain point of view, this fluid may be regarded as part of the material element, it differs from it due to special properties. If it were simply matter, there would be no reason for spirit not to be matter too. It is placed between spirit and matter. It is a fluid, just as matter is matter. In these countless combinations with matter, and under the direction of spirit, it is capable of producing an infinite variety of things about which you still know very, very little. By being an agent upon which spirits act, this universal, primitive, or elementary fluid is the principle without which matter would forever remain in a state of dispersion. It would never acquire the properties given to it by gravitation. Here's the introduction of the universal fluid. And to this day, we still don't know what has created matter, what's behind all of it. And here he's introducing matter, spirit, the intelligent principle, and then the fluid, cosmic, or universal fluid, which has started it all, right? Which is what connects all things. And Kardec explains that there's matter, so the vehicle, the spirit, which is the intelligent principle, and the elementary fluid, the principle which triggers, right, to give matter its properties, which he calls here the universal fluid. So we see now 3, and above all there's God. Now Kardec goes on in the same question number 27. He asks, might this fluid be what we call electricity? Now that he's trying to nail down what this fluid means. The answer is, we have stated that it is capable of countless combinations. What you call the electric and magnetic fluids are both modifications of one universal fluid. Properly speaking, this fluid is more perfect and subtler matter that may be considered as independent. So he's here explaining and getting back that this fluid is a principle. It can take the shape of electricity, it can take the shape of magnetic fluid, it can take multiple forms. Question number 28. Since spirit is something in and of itself, wouldn't it be clear and less subject to confusion to label these two general elements as inner matter and intelligent matter? He's going back to the definition of matter and spirit. The answer is, words do not matter much to us. It is up to you to formulate your language in a way that you can understand one another. The disputes among you almost always arise because you cannot agree on the meaning of the words you use. Your language is incomplete regarding things that do not touch your senses. Our language is incomplete, and we're very limited. We see in one language we have certain definitions, in another one. Kardec is trying to see if we can get, inert matter and intelligent matter, if it would work. The answer is, focus on the content. We're less worried about what words you use, but that you understand that the body is, the matter is the vehicle, and the spirit is that principle, intelligent principle, and there's an element, a principle behind it, that is the cosmic or universal fluid. Here is an explanation from Kardec. One obvious fact dominates all theories. We see matter, which is not intelligent, and we see an intelligent principle that is independent of matter. Nonetheless, the origin of and connection between those two are unknown to us. Whether they have a common origin and necessary points of contact between them, and whether intelligence has its own independent existence, or only a property or effect, as some claim, or even whether it's an emanation of the divinity, this is all unknown to us. Matter and intelligence are distinct as far as we are concerned. Thus, we regard them as being two principles comprising the universe. Above this, however, we see an intelligence dominating and governing all others, and it differs from them due to its essential attributes. It is the supreme intelligence that we call God. Beautiful explanation from Kardec. I think he wraps it up beautifully. We got the definition of matter, what we can understand of spirit, of the principle that connects all things, and we know that above all there's God. So this completes our reading for today. Thank you for being with us. See you next time.